if you do find a woman from another, you better make sure you're around other people that have your values.
Facts.
Do not try to bring some woman over here from across the sea and then for her to come over here and hang around
all these modern women.
Your sister or something that's a modern woman, or your grandma or something that's been in America her whole life.
Right.
And then she's like, hey, you don't need this man.
Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. You guys have given us an early Christmas gift in that we were hoping to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
And now we're like, what?
We're 54. 54.
We're like past that goal.
Yeah, we're past that goal. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you really a lot.
It was funny because we were saying this like a month or two ago that I want to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and then here we are. So thank you guys for subscribing to us. We really do appreciate it, and hopefully you enjoyed the content and all the things that we have to say. Okay, so there is a growing number of people to talk about the topic of what are they calling it, passport bros. If you guys don't know what that is, this is just men who are now traveling overseas to find a wife. American men. Well, I think anyone, but American men traveling overseas to find a wife because American women are masculine and we've hit a wall. So men are going to overseas and they're finding a wife there, and what do we feel about this whole thing? So I don't, what's interesting about all this is that this is not new. What's new is that people are talking about it.
Right.
Men have been finding wives overseas for decades. It's been, and a lot of it started with the Vietnam War. Men spent so much time over there, obviously, and they found wives over there, and a lot of them brought those wives back here. So this is something that's not really new. How do we feel about it? Like, I don't have a huge problem with it. I think that it's hard to find. First of all, two things. I agree when men say that women are masculine here, and this whole thing where it is hard to find a traditional type of wife, because here in America we have gone off the rails with, you guys know, we always talk about it, feminism, modern woman, this whole thing is happening. And so men are, kind of in a, not all men, but a lot of men are kind of like in a position where if they want those values, it is very hard to, it's almost impossible to find here in America. It's possible, people still get married here, but to find here in America. And so I get it. If you want a certain lifestyle, a certain type of woman, and it does not exist here in America, then I really don't blame men for actually doing that. I don't have a problem with it, just as an idea.
I have a friend who did it.
Yeah, we actually do have a friend who did this.
I mean, my friend, he dated mostly white women, but then he married a woman from Africa.
She's
so,
from.
I mean, clearly maybe he wanted to date black women, but they were just not something here. But he was having problems that are white women. Yeah. So, he met a woman, and it's expensive. Yeah. Like he would tell me all the time. He was just like, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
She's from Africa. She's from Ethiopia, I think.
Married, they have a new child and stuff, and it worked for him. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's fine. If you wherever you feel you need to go to be happy. I mean, I feel that way about my own life. Whenever I want to be happy, it's like we were saying about. It's not the same, but it is the same. It's just go with me. When people say black people should be Democrats, well, I don't. I'm not. So. And wherever I need to go to be happy to find then I feel like you need to do it. You know what I mean? So the same thing here. If you can't find it here and you have the money,
I don't see the problem.
I don't see the I
really don't see the problem at all. Here's the thing, is that in other countries, and specifically when I was reading up on this and I was kind of researching this a little bit, so Slavic countries, mostly Asian countries, and some Latin. So, Brazilian. So those are like the main ones that are getting a lot of this, specifically the Asian, because they're so traditional. But here's the thing, is that in other countries outside of America, it's built in their culture, their religion. I mean, it's just built in their world to be conservative. Like their world, their countries are just as a whole conservative. So it would make sense that if you want to find a conservative, like a truly traditional woman, you will pretty much find it outside of America. Because as a lot of you guys are saying in the comments, like a lot of women in America are just so far off the rails, which we talked about many times, that it is very difficult to find a woman who is like traditional, you know, and the values are traditional. You know, a lot of men sometimes are very skeptical and sometimes very shocked at Kara and I, or women like Kara and I, that do have conservative values, are very traditional, because it isn't the women that are getting the microphone are the ones that you guys know, the Cardi B's. Okay, they're the ones that are getting the microphone, and the other ones are not. So it's looking as if we don't exist, but we do. And the women there value that. Women value traditional marriages in different countries, whereas here in America, women do not value marriage the way they probably should. Not, and again, I have to say this all the time, but not all, obviously. But most women in America aren't. They're very liberal, and they're very modern, and they are feminist. And it's a big deal here in America. So for a man to try to find a woman like that here would be kind of, I feel like it would be kind of hard. Like, I get y'all's point. It is kind of hard to find that.
I think in our country, maybe our freedom helps us and hurts us.
Yeah.
In a way. Because our freedom, the fact that we can live and be how we want, it sort of takes away from a bit of a biblical point of view. In other countries, even countries that, you know, where it's not like Sharia law or things like that, you know, they still have a biblical point of view. Women still believe that even if they like work, they still believe in there is only there are things men can do and women can do. There are things women are supposed to do and things that men, and no one disagrees with that within them, you know. And then when you go overseas, especially people like that have Sharia law, you think they also, it helps them and hurts them because they don't have, because Andrew Tate, I was watching this short of Andrew Tate talking about with his brother or something, that the other countries are doing something right as much as we want to say that they're doing things wrong. Like overseas, they like in a lot of those Middle Eastern countries, they believe in like biblical principles as far as if you steal, they cut your arm off. You know what I mean? If you know they have public killings, but because of that, they have like virtually no crime. Yeah. Now we look at that as barbaric. Yeah. Here. But the truth is that their crime rate is so low, it's like non-existent. So the same thing with women. I think they overdo it with women. But on the other hand, those women are married to those men. And they don't try to you know, they know their place. So it kind of helps them and hurts them as well. Over here, it's the same thing. Our freedom kind of helps us, it hurts us. Because our freedom, feminism can exist in America because we have a freedom. We're a freedom country. LGBT can, all these things can exist because our country is based on the foundation of you can do what you want here and be what you want here. And so if ideologies take hold, then everybody starts wanting to do it. Yeah, you know, if you go to the 1950s, women weren't acting like that. It's not as that feminism didn't exist, because there were always women since the 20s, like the flappers that were all trying to, you know, they drank a lot, they tried to dress like men. There were always those women around. But the culture, because women understood, and also there was a biblical point of view in America. Our Constitution is based on biblical principles. You know what I mean? That women knew that they wanted to get married. Most of them wanted to get married young. Men wanted to get married. Most of them wanted to have children. Most of them had an intact family. Most of them went to church on Sunday. So those things kind of kept us all in line. The societal norms kind of kept us in line. But then, you know, the 60s happened.
And then that's all gone.
You know,
it's all gone.
There's a joke about the 60s because people don't understand the beginning of the 60s and then the end of the 60s. The beginning of the 60s was JFK. Right. That's where most people were conservative. And then the end of the 60s was Gloria Steinem.
Right. So we have family values, and then literally in that same decade, you have feminists get men out of the home. Men, we can do it all by ourselves type attitude. Women in other countries, how conservative they are just naturally is how we were in the 50s and part of the 60s. So naturally, before the 60s and before, we as a country America was conservative. There were sprinkles of liberal, but it was mainly conservative in every race. It wasn't just like only white people. No. Everyone was pretty much conservative. Like Kara was pointing out, wanted the marriage and the whole. They wanted that whole, picket fence, the whole thing, and pretty much everybody had that. Women in other countries, like they have really just stuck to that kind of value of, I understand my role. And Kara and I talk so much about roles, and how we believe that maintaining roles in relationships is what keeps relationships going well. You know what I mean? I wholeheartedly believe that. I think it's because we've eliminated those roles as man and woman, husband and wife, and now they're blurred. The lines are so blurred, and sometimes they're just non-existent, that it isn't even alluring to get married in America.
Another thing, though, that changed, I think that people don't talk about as much. I don't think we do as much, but I guess I just thought about it now. I watch a lot of things, documentaries that from the 50s, is consumerism. Consumerism changed our values in a lot of ways because because in the 50s, a lot of women were housewives and they reported to their husband. Their husband came home, whatever was going on during the day, that they reported to him. That was their husband was like your boss. Right. You know what I mean? And your husband took care of things. So you got an allowance. Men took care of the bills, but they also took care of the money that was going out. You had to talk, like we were watching the Wonder Years, the old show. It was a Christmas episode. We're watching Christmas stuff, y'all. But Christmas episode, and they wanted to buy a color TV. Color TV was new. It was starting to come out. And the salesman was going to sell her the TV, but she said, I have to talk to my husband first.
Yeah, right.
And that was always the way women used to talk. I have to talk. You have to get past my husband,
He's the head.
Right, he's the head of her. So he makes the money, so we have to discuss it with him first. We can't just buy stuff. Well, that changed in the late 60s because women got tired of the allowance system. And it caused women, because they wanted money. Yep. They wanted to buy materialism, buy things, buy stuff, and they got tired of asking their husband for money. Because there used to be a thing called the thrifty wife. If you go on YouTube, they have actually an old documentary of a woman being the thrifty wife. It's a 50s thing. And women wanted to live middle class. Most people did. No one wanted to live like the Kardashians or these housewives, these multi-million-dollar. This all was a warm-up to where we are today. Right. All of this money and access is what caused women to free themselves from their husbands. Because they felt like we were being chained, and we're being we're kind of, they looked at it as enslavement all of a sudden. Because Gloria Steinem made a point of making it seem that way. She made it seem like, oh well, your husband is your boss. Why should your husband be your boss? Why should you report to him? Why do you have to ask him for money? You're really doing all the work. He gets to go out and spend time in the world. He's probably cheating on you. He's probably doing all this while you're at home. That's how they kind of wrap their heads around. Well, of course, women in their 30s and 40s who had husbands, they probably understood what she was saying to a point, but they weren't about to leave their comfortable surrounding of being a housewife. Right. So they moved. So Gloria Steinem moved from women to college women, women who haven't experienced life yet. And so there was a big rift between women, young women, and their mothers. So all of these things, when you look at the modern woman today, it all came from this generation of people, and it molded over time because now it's in the colleges. Most colleges are liberal leaning, and they teach this. So it's just like you can go to any college now. I think Jordan Peterson said about 80% of the professors and things that people that are in college are all liberal leaning. There are like no conservative principles or people teaching conservative principles in college. So these kids are coming out of school, including boys, are coming out of school very modern. And a lot of these young men don't even want a housewife anymore. They want a woman who's going to grind like them. You hear them say that more.
Young men, really young men, don't know that they would
benefit.
They would benefit if they would have a woman who is just more conservative, but because it's been so built in to the culture now that women are very liberal, outspoken. They can do what you're doing. They're, like we're promoting all this. I think they turned the idea, even back in the 50s and 60s, they turned the idea of the man into a dictator. When he wasn't a dictator, he's just the head of house, right? So he's the head. And so, but the Gloria Steinems of the world made it seem like he was being a dictator, made women believe and get onto that all that propaganda and indoctrinating them into believing that their husbands are dictators, or men in general, the patriarchy is dictating you, when really that is not true. What it is that the patriarchy has a stand because men do lead, and there is a huge place for men, and because we've gone so far off into, you can't have a man tell you what to do. He shouldn't have to tell you what to do. You should be able to, to cash your own check. You should be able to, it's like we turned women against men, by the hands of a handful of these women, these liberals. Like a handful of these liberals turned it into some big crazy, I hate men movement. Because I believe feminist movement is a I hate men movement. And this is where we're at. So when you fast forward, because even when you're saying, when you fast forward to now, it is kind of like a precursor to what we're seeing now, because when you fast forward to now, we are no longer seeing the 50 style woman, or if you do, she's really rare. Like, I know a lot of married people, and I will say this, the married couples that I know that are actually happy and doing well and, thriving in their relationships, the ones that are doing well and it's working out are the ones where the roles are maintained, where the woman is being the woman, the man's being the man, he's the head of her, and, we understand, Christ over man, man over woman, woman over children. So I notice those people that I know that are married, that are living like that, are doing well. It's the marriages that are not going well are the ones I know that are bad, are the ones where the woman is behaving like a man and the man is simping to that behavior. Those relationships that I personally know are the ones that are going bad fast. It's that to me even that's in 2022. So that shows me that it works out better. Everything runs a little bit more smooth when you're just maintaining the proper roles.
Feminism can only survive if it can't survive with just women. Women pushing an agenda. It can only survive if men help.
Right.
And by the way, when I say this is that when women were at home and being housewives, it made it for a better wife for men. So even if you're getting married and your wife works also, you're still part of the agenda. Because if your wife works and you work and your kids are watching both people work, in their mind they're thinking there is no difference.
You guys are the same.
Because you're the same. You see what I'm saying? So even if you are married and your husband, people say, look, I could care less if people work when they're together. It doesn't, to me, you throw the power shift off if you're both doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And when men marry women who are working women, unfortunately, you're part of the demise as well.
That is
because
true.
What you're showing, especially if you have children, you're showing that next generation that there is no difference between the two of you. Not really.
Right.
Me and this girl that works here, we were talking once about family dynamics. Now, I'm an old-fashioned person. Everybody else that works with me isn't. You know what I mean? Everybody's modern. And
we're the only conservative people.
So a girl had a baby, and she's a single mother. And I was saying something about the fact that I was telling my boss, I really think that women should be housewives when they have kids. You know what I mean? So to me, when you have a child and then you go right back to work, and she's like, she feels guilty. This woman's bringing her baby to work, and I'm thinking, well, why do you feel guilty? So she's telling me I'm wrong, but I'm saying, why do you feel guilty? She's with she's with him, father, right? Okay. And he's not marrying her. Yeah. And so my point in saying this, but why do you feel guilty? And she didn't answer me questions. She just went right to, well, when men go to work, they don't feel guilty. I said, right. And why do you think that? You got to answer my question. Why do you think that is? Because we have a different wiring inside of us. You just carried a child for 9 months. You just pushed it out, and now you feel bad about going to work. Do you know why? Because this child needs you more than that job.
Yeah. Which
means you should be married so this man can go out and make a living, and you can nurture your child, because that's what you were born to be.
Yeah.
The only people that feel guilty about going back to work is women.
All the time, you're supposed
to. I feel guilty about me. I feel like when I'm at work, I need to be home.
I hear this all the time.
It's like, you know why you feel that way? Because you're not supposed to be at work.
Yeah.
It's true. You know what I mean?
And I know, but you know what it is though? I know that when women hear that, and also the problem is that we're in a world of single mother right now. So that's, So I think when women hear that, though, they're like, well, then who's going to take care of the kids? I'm like, no, we're talking about back. I know you can't go back if you're a single mom. Okay, we get that. You're where you're at now, so it's whatever. But we're talking about, this is why we're trying to say if we need to unlearn and relearn. Because if you take it back, you would have got married, had a kid, no guilt now. Because you would have gotten married. You would have been able to tend to your child or children, at their formative ages. And your husband may be bringing home taking care of a house and home and, taking care of bills and all that kind of stuff while you're taking care of the home and the children. And you would feel no guilt because you're there. You're there. It's only because we're wired differently and you're having to go to work and it's making you feel a certain way. If you didn't have to do that, imagine it would be eliminated.
But remember that guy I was telling you, I was just watching this the other day. The guy, his name is Gavin, but he's a comedian, and he was on this Sean Hannity thing where he was debating this Hillary Clinton supporter. She's a feminist about traditional roles. It was true, and he was on another show where he was talking about it was a Father's Day, and he was talking about why Father's Day isn't the host was saying, why do you think Father's Day isn't celebrated like Mother's Day? And he said because we don't make a big deal out of being treated like buffoons like women do. He said if you tell a woman she's a hoe or you make her look a certain way on television, women will say sexism and they'll take it down.
Right.
They'll change everything up for women. Men don't do that. Yeah. He's just like, so in the 50s we had Father Knows Best, the Danny Thomas show, we had the show Hazel, we had just Donna Reed, where men were the fathers and the women on the show and the kids respected who this guy was. Yeah. But then all of a sudden Archie Bunker came, Al Bundy, and Dan Connor, and he said, and men became buffoons, and we never got upset with that. Yeah. We allowed that to this day for that to be the symbolism of fatherhood.
It's almost like they were trying to put in the idea that men are unnecessary, and unnecessary and useless. That was the feeling I'm getting, because like a lot of TV and movies and things that stuff is propaganda sometimes, where they put stuff out to give you an idea, and the idea really is that men are useless. When we start seeing these things, and then when you start seeing men becoming, like some of you guys say, simp, or men just become beta. A lot of this has to do with the bigging up of women and the putting down of men, and then pushing that to all of us and regurgitating that to all of us. So now we're just seeing men be buffoons, when we know there's men out there aren't. But I'm just saying that's the idea they're wanting to put out there. I
mean, men from other countries where they're still the patriarchy is still strong. If you ask them, I mean, when you talk to them, like I've talked to some of them personally, and then if you just see like man on the street on YouTube, just go on YouTube and you can look it up, and then they'll go, why do you think women don't respect men? And they'll all say it's the man's fault. They said the men in America dropped that ball.
They should never have Nigerian guy said that once, didn't he?
He said they should have never let women go on to this feminist thing. But like I said, look at Joe Biden. He made his vice president a female. He made his vice president female. He made both his speaker or his press secretaries. They were both female. And then he made his who was the other one? His Supreme Court nominee. And he made a point, though, guys. It wasn't that he just made these women these high-ranking roles. He made a point in telling everybody he's going to pick a woman,
and a black one at that.
And so he said that, and so that's an agenda, and that is men in America helping the damage. The value.
Lost the value, and the connection has been lost.
Danielle put a video up a long time ago. Joey B. Tunes is a comedian, and he has a YouTube show. He's pretty funny. He does TikTok reactions, and they're pretty funny. But Danielle did. She put one on here not too long ago where in Australia there was this white girl that, I guess on her Facebook page, she prioritized her husband and her kids. She said, my husband gets up at 4:30 and so do I, so I can make his breakfast and I can do this. And then this Australian talk show, man and woman, laughed at her. And then the man said, who are these women?
The man said that.
The man said that. You know what I mean? So then Joey B. Tunes said, and then Joey B. Tunes says, they're laughing at this woman for being a stay-at-home mom. She loves taking care of her kids and her family, and they're literally laughing at her.
Wait till you hear this. I want to take you back to the 1950s, or at least that's what I thought when I read this Brisbane mum's Facebook post. Brooke Smith shared her routine online. Here's what she said. I always make sure I don't go to bed until everyone's lunches are packed, their clothes are set out for the next day, including my husband's, and the house is clean, dishwasher is on, and a load of washing is on. I always get up early, 4:30, with my husband to make his breakfast and coffee. Go, Brooke. Whatever.
Yeah, they're mocking a mother for taking care of her family.
A lot of people online are saying, well done, are praising her.
Who? Meanwhile, these are the same people who would praise Britney Spears for posting naked photos of herself online while raising 2 teenage boys. You know this. You know if they did a story on Britney, they'd say, Britney's back, living her truth, coming up next. And they'd be sitting around the couch going, oh, it's just great to say. She's been through so much. It's just Britney being Britney now. Good for her. Yet here they are moaning and groaning about a woman who keeps her clothes on and takes pride in taking care of her kids and her husband.
Who are these people? Oh, has he hypnotised her or something? Who does this stuff?
Who does this, he says. I don't know, people who love each other, people who raise children that don't end up on OnlyFans.
And he's like, and then people wonder why values have gone out the door.
So you expected with the modern woman next to him, but the man journalist guys laughing at it too was really disappointing because it's like, dude, like this, you are aiding to the problem. People are laughing at women who want to be housewives. They're laughing at them, and then you wonder why women are like feel pressured to be working women. Well, I mean,
it's just the culture.
It's just the culture. It's just the culture.
They all laughed at her, and then the poor lady, they didn't have her on the show. They're just laughing at her YouTube, her Facebook page. You know what I mean? And all she's saying is she likes to wake up like I would.
Yeah.
If I, you know what I mean? Like, who doesn't do that? If your husband is the head of the house and he is the bank.
Yeah.
That means that you got to get up. When he gets up, if it's 4:30, and he I guess this guy works construction or something, he has to wake up really early. So she wakes up too. Yeah, she has to make his breakfast and she has to get him ready so he can go off to go to work. Yeah. So she's not going to sleep in bed while her husband makes his own breakfast and he's paying all the bills. But for some reason they thought that was funny, and that the lady, journalist was like, oh, whatever. And then they're all just like making fun of her. You have to understand, most women, particularly if you're 18, they don't even remember a time when women stayed home.
Yeah.
They've been sleeping and drinking this since grade school. So that's what I say. When women get mad at us, I have compassion for modern women. I do, because I know that a lot of them are raised by single mothers. A lot of them are raised by gender ideology and all that from school. It's in their books. It's in their videos. It's in the music that they listen to. So these women are being indoctrinated, and they can't help themselves. And so when men sort of make fun of them too much, I think to myself, but you are also. Yeah. And it's coming for you too, because when you look at boys that are 18 and 21, they're also baggy pants hanging off their butt, hair looks like they got hit with a crayon. They don't look like serious anymore. They dress like a child. They don't have any real values. They sleep around. They watch people like Cardi B, and they think that's what a woman is. So I don't get mad at those guys either, because I understand that this generation is being indoctrinated to not have any kind of morals.
Because we get a lot of women that literally get really mad at us because some of the comments we get don't even make it to the comment because it's just really bad. Women just think that we are just pushing them way back and they hate it, but we don't even get mad at them. Like, I don't get mad. We don't get mad at any woman who talks to us like that, because we know why we know why they're talking down about what we're saying. Because what we're saying to them is so rare and so weird that they don't understand that it rolls and women behaving like women works, and it's going to benefit them. So like we said, we have compassion for women like that. That woman that was crying in the car. A lot of people, like, I don't feel a bit sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for her either. I don't feel sorry for any grown adult. Anybody who can have the know-how and to take accountability for their life as a grown person, I don't give sorrowful feeling for. I only give that to children. But I will have compassion for her because I know why it happened. I know why it happened and why she's behaving that way, or why she behaved that way. I get it.
And it's also, like, you got to be aware of the fact that a lot of times these women that come from other countries that you guys are going to find, a lot of them, unfortunately, get radicalized by, well, because they're here. You know,
you just had Uber drivers like that.
I was just going to say our Uber driver.
She was just like this.
There are women that they get married to one of these American men. They come back to America. This one guy said the other day, he said, if you're going to marry her there and stay there. He said, because if you bring her to America, she's going to be around, and which is my friend, the guy that I was talking about, he's over here hanging around a bunch of, aggressive women. And now his wife is. And now what she's doing.
Right. So if you're gonna go live in those countries.
Yeah, or
you better figure out.
Because the thing is that because when you come into another culture, you become the culture.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I'm saying? You do. Look at Ilhan Omar. She's a Muslim.
Yeah.
And she's over here advocating for LGBT and women's rights and abortion. That the Quran doesn't
she knows
make space for that.
She knows that.
She damn near got booed off the stage by her own people.
Right.
In random numbers, because here she is hanging around social justice warriors on the left, advocating for something that her religion, which is wearing her little headpiece, and like, what are you wearing that for? Because you're not living up to it at all. You know what I mean? But you know why she's doing that? Because she's been in America for a while now, and American women take you in, and they make you feel like you don't need a man. And so a lot of men can bring these women over here, and then they get around a bunch of these women. In America, they start to eventually, over time, they change. The girl Danielle was just talking about. We were going to our mother's house after work for Thanksgiving, and our Uber driver was a woman from where was she from? Indonesia, and she married a guy over here, and
got here.
You should hear this girl's story. I'm like, you came all the way over here to be like every woman in America. Now she's a single mother of two. She got 2 baby daddies. I mean, you know what I mean?
She was completely conservative, traditional over there. Came here, took no time. Single mom, divorced. It's like.
And she's unhappy. You should have heard this woman. She's a completely unhappy woman. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you do find a woman from another, you better make sure you're around other people that have your values.
Facts.
Do not try to bring some woman over here from across the sea and then for her to come over here and hang around
all these modern women.
Your sister or something that's a modern woman, or your grandma or something that's been in America her whole life.
Right.
And then she's like, hey, you don't need this man.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it. But this is not new, by the way. The passport thing is not new. I mean, a lot of
that's going on a lot of
decades.
There have been several white men that go all the way to Asia.
To
find Asian because they're more submissive.
We've had like 3 of our subscribers. They did this many years ago, and they actually said in our comments, this whole passport thing is not new. Where y'all been at? My wife, I've been married to her for 30 years. One guy said he's been married to his wife for 30 years. Many men have done this many years ago, for various reasons, but especially when the 60s hit because of all this feminist stuff. They wanted to find, and especially 70s was over. They really wanted to find that woman again. So a lot of men have already been doing this. So I don't think it's some big new fad. It's not new. And I get it, you guys. Like I do understand why men are doing that, or are thinking about doing that. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Should be interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. We will love that. And that's it. We will see you guys on the next video. Bye.